Hello everyone, this is Commander Trium talking to you once again from the Elite Universe on a day when we are hurtling around aboard the Gnosis. We are orbiting a moon around planet New Africa, and I've never seen... This moon is only 15,000 kilometers away from the surface of the planet, so its orbit is extremely rapid. Consequently, it is very difficult to navigate through. This is the bubble, as it is known. Well, technically, that's the bubble, but you get the general idea. The orange appendage here on the right is, of course, the Pleiades sector. Just notice how big Panava and Tal's little empire is getting. It's not so little anymore. But he tends to be a little bit on the doom and gloom side of things. And his empire seems to be expanding out into the periphery. He now holds most of the space toward the Pleiades, which is interesting. With Denton Petraeus, and it looks like Zemina Torval in the purple and the green, well, the cyan towards the bottom, contesting, but our favorite shadow president, Felicia Winters, seems to also be doing okay. The one person who's not doing extremely well seems to be Mr. Hudson, president of the Federation, although from inside here it looks quite healthy. It takes a while to take these things down and take them apart, but he's been sitting in last place long enough that a lot of his systems are weak. You got Grom there who's starting to encroach into Federation space, and well, Grom is something of a pirate. Oh, and there's the headquarters, Nanomam. Holy crap, it's almost been taken by Ed Mann of the Alliance. A lot of these systems are falling to the Alliance very quickly. I suspect a lot of commander support has fallen away from Hudson. He, in fact, may need to be replaced with another character at some point. There's still 2 years left in his term as president. Perhaps at that point we'll see the red start to expand a little bit again. Or perhaps there'll be a new faction on the board. And red will gradually give way to another color. At any rate, for now, we are in the commodities map at the moment. Let's see here. Let's go to the allegiance. Now here red means something different. These are superpower allegiances. And as you can see, the Federation's still quite healthy. Oh, the Alliance is doing well. also, and in some parts of the galaxy, even the empires have begun to encroach. And there are some parts of the galaxy where all you see is the Empire, which is not a situation that's all that familiar to the Federation, actually. But these systems are well outside of the bubble. The Federation has not been as a superpower, has not been expanding very much. It's fairly heavily concentrated on affairs inside the bubble. And the Empire is starting to surround, by the looks of things, surround the Federation. Wow. Of course, the Empire also has more power play factions in the game to further the interests of the Empire as a superpower than the Federation does. So maybe the Federation needs another personality to step up. Perhaps instead of orange and red, we could have a magenta or something that would be representative for a new player in the Federation. At any rate. There's still plenty of Federation to go around, and still numerous independent worlds that have not declared an allegiance. Could they be won over by the Federation? Time will tell. Okay, so right now we're at Epsilon Indy, and oh yes, we have to find a plot of course to Mu Koji, which is our new profit center. So let's do a quick search for Mu Koji. We've been there before and earned money there before. It is in the Felicia Winters sphere of influence. And it looks like it's quite a distance off, at 134 light years. We are looking at this time one of these bases as our trade partner. Axionov hub, I believe, is exactly the same hub we had before. trading lithium to Tacking. Our secondary world will be basic medicines to the Tacking Filipchenko vision within Tacking. The Tacking system is imperial, but controlled somehow by Felicia Winters, which is interesting. I'm going to check our systems to make sure we have what we need. It's only 20% metal, surprisingly. There's really nothing on this rock that's of profound interest, but it might be interesting to land there briefly. Specifically, I'm interested in the glacier regions in the North and South Poles, which I haven't seen on a world before. We'll do that bit of exploration before taking off from the system on a permanent basis. Might use the fighter as well. Oh, I just remembered we did not check to make sure that we have a fuel tank. Or scoop, rather. Let's just see if we have one. There is a 6A fuel scoop on board, so we're fine there. Okay, very good. Well, isn't that just pretty? Where's our planet? Oh! Here it comes now. And you can see the moon off to the right. This is planet New Africa. We're at 15,000 kilometers range. Yes, it's heavily populated. I know you cannot move this fast, this close to a planet, except by being on a celestial body such as this. And believe me, landing on it is a bit of a challenge.
Separation confirmed. Restrict speed until clear of Gnosis control.
Why, there we are. Oh! And there's the moon we're going to.
Landing gear retracted. Cargo scoop retracted.
Gnosis is a canon research vessel. It doesn't jump away, although it has the capacity to do so. Yeah.
You are clear of the station.
Yeah,
Stay
so
frosty, Commander.
cool. You say so. Doesn't seem very likely. I guess so. It's one of those stars in the field ahead of us. Okay.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, the idea here is going to be to ignore New Africa. Sorry, we're 16,000 kilometers away, not 15.
Orbital flight engaged.
Well, there's a glacier here. It's at the moment in the dark. That will change momentarily. I think we'll go just past this mountain. Coordinates, please. Looks like it's the South Pole for us. ourselves out. First, we'll take the fighter down.
Stand by for deployment, Commander. Wilco, holding fire.
Not much of a view, is there? I think the ice on the surface appears to be thin. Oh. God's sake. Our wings are touching the Well,
They're taking out my shields, performing evasive maneuvers.
you idiot. Am I supposed to land that thing without any shields, you fucking morons?
Taking control of the fighter. Awaiting your orders, Commander. Okay, Commander. I've got the stick. Okay, Commander. I'm on guard.
You do that.
You're too far away, Commander. Decrease your distance from the mothership. You're nearly out of range, Commander. Turn back or we'll lose the fighter. Turn around, Commander. You're too far away from the mothership. You're too far away, Commander. Decrease your distance from the mothership. Out of range, Commander. Turn back or we'll lose the fighter. Telepresence control taken. She's in my hands, Commander. Copy. Holding position. Commencing recovery, Commander. Stand by.
Programming limit code. Selector limit expired.
Oh, there goes our limpet.
Programming limpet drone. Collector limpet expired.
It's 500 meters by the looks of it. Okay.
Retrieval complete. Fighter bay is secure.
Landing gear deployed.
Okay. And now we will launch our Scarab.
No gravity warning.
Which we apparently have to approach from behind. I don't see our limpets down there anywhere. If anyone else does, I don't. They did land around here somewhere. phosphorus deposit.
LAC deployed.
Ooh, it's icy here. It might have something to do with us being on top of a large glacier. I really hope we can get that ship back. Because if it jumps away too far... You know, I don't think it's jumping away at all. Well, that's interesting. I think it's just taking off and, like, sitting up there somewhere. Well, eventually it'll go off our radar scope and then we'll have to recall it. Well, for a 20% planet, there's a lot of rock here.
missed.
Well, I don't know what to make of that. It seems as if we're stuck here now, sort of. Something large and interesting over here. We'll go and investigate. Yeah.
Chassis integrity compromised.
Huh. What the hell is that? It's a flashing red beacon. I've never seen one of these before. Hello?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I just have a quick question. I noticed that there's 4 people on my friends list engaged in a private group. Are you all part of the same group? And if so, what is going on?
No, it's not me. I'm not part of that group. Oh, wait, are you talking about Mobius?
No, I don't think so. I was just wondering if there's another group. I don't think the other players that I have listed here are part of Mobius. And even if they were, what are they all doing as part of the same group?
Yeah, no, if there's a group, I'm not in it. Because the only private group I've got is, Mobius, and my own personal one.
Yeah, I got Mobius as well. I don't have a personal one. I don't know enough people. Okay.
But it might be a different Mobius group, because, like, there's so many, there's like 3, I think. I think I'm on the 3rd server.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know which one I'm on. I just know I'm part of a Mobius group. It's labeled PvE. And that's it. Anyway, the other thing is, have you ever found a satellite on the ground? I'm in the where the hell am I? The Epsilon Indy system at the Cannon Research, near the Cannon Research vessel Gnosis. And
good.
There's a probe. Okay, so there's a moon that orbits the planet New Africa. And I think the moon is called Meteorand Hollow. And this moon is, first of all, it rockets around New Africa. It's only located like 16,000 kilometers away from the surface of New Africa. So it's already...
yeah, Meteorand Hollow? Yeah, it's a crazy moon, I believe. I've been there yet.
It is a crazy moon. It's something to see. But anyway, there's a probe on the planet's surface of a configuration I've never seen before. And it looks like there's a dish, and in the middle of the dish is sort of like this red beacon flashing. Normally, probes look like crashed nav beacons when I encounter them. So this thing has like damaged sonar. It looks like a Voyager class probe that is somehow...
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
You've seen those? Okay, but this one has the red beacon flashing in the middle. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah,
Oh.
I've seen the beacon.
Okay. I don't know.
So that's not too major.
No, I didn't know what the hell this was. And it's got like, I don't know, there's damaged components all over the place. Yeah, it looks like exactly like a Voyager class probe. It's even got like an arm sticking out that's all like busted all to hell, but it's obviously
Does it say agent probe? The one I've seen said agent probe.
No, this one is, what does it say? It just says, it's just a data point. Mind you, it's kind of hard to tell. The sun goes up and down every 5 seconds on this moon, so... Like it
that's where you're at, Mitter Hollow.
Yeah, I'm like near one of the poles. I'm near the south pole of this moon. And I've scanned it. There's a firmware package aboard. I took the firmware package, and now it's my firmware package. But I don't know who's going to be interested in it. I'll sell it to someone, I'm sure. But I thought it might be plot relevant because I've never seen the type of probe before.
No, I've seen them before. They're just another generated probe.
Just another generated probe. Well, maybe it'll be. I'm expecting to see a lot of new things like in the next couple of weeks when we get the new update. But
yeah, it should be pretty nice.
I hope there's a lot of new stuff. I mean, I don't know what they've got planned. I know that there's talk of some of the atmospheric planets being accessible for the first time. I'm looking forward to taking the Type 9 through a planet atmosphere and just see how much abuse that poor thing can take. I was at the Cannon. I was docked near at the Gnosis, and while there, I decided, I'll just take my Anaconda and I'll go inside the backwash of the engines just to see what happens. And the engines actually damage your ship. Like if you fly too close to them, they'll start to hurt you. As you would expect, these are giant, Starship class engines. So,
right.
But I don't know. I guess they're trying to keep the ship in orbit while it flies around this crazy mixed up planet. New Africa's got quite a few people on it too. I mean, you can see. I don't know exactly the population is, and we'll just find out here real quick. Oh, stop it. Oh, isn't that nice? Okay, surface map. Surface map. No. And I want to see New Africa has 5 atmospheres. 4.6% oxygen. The mixture is correct for human breathing. World is terraformed. Doesn't say how many people live on it. You have to go system wide only on population.
Right.
Exit here. Galaxy map, please. The population, it says here, is only, hang on. Yeah, 4 billion. So.
Well, did you watch the LaveCon thing earlier today?
No. What happened?
The only things that they showed, or the only things that I saw that they showed was, they're gonna introduce spatial anomalies for explorers, like whether it's like a lightning storm in space.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be places on. Yeah, they're gonna seed the galaxy with
anomalies.
Anomalies for explorers to find, and they're gonna do some. They're talking about some mining stuff. They're gonna turn mining. They're gonna add some stuff so we could blow up or not asteroids, but blow up the what do you call them? I guess they are asteroids. There's the stuff that you mine.
Yeah.
It's not just gonna be point a mining laser at it anymore. They're trying to get some stuff that's like fragile on the surface that you have to pull out, and then you can blow up and crack it open and get to the core.
So is this like a detonator limpet or something like that?
What?
A detonator limpet or maybe a boring laser or something?
Yeah, something like that. They're trying to make it for like team mining, like somebody could pull stuff off the surface, all the fragile stuff off the surface, while the guy's drilling in to set detonation charges, and a different guy is, doing stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't, like, you don't have to set the detonation charge position by yourself. Hopefully the limpet will just figure that out and do it for you. This is the 34th century, but... and, like, you have to crawl out of your SRV once you're, like, on top of this asteroid and, like, run out there with, like, a little, damage pack or whatever. And then run back to your ship or to your SRV or your vehicle and then, like, get away with it.
Yeah, land on it and get in your SRV.
And then fly away before it blows up. And you along with it.
Well, there will be risk to mining now too. Like, they'll have like volatile asteroids. You start mining on it, it can blow up in your face.
Well, I wonder what kind of element would have to be inside of an asteroid for it to blow up. Like, all the elements, most of the elements you find in space are like inert, right? They're if they're radioactive, which is about as non-inert, is about as unstable as they get. But you're not going to find, like, oh, and someone here just happened to leave, a nuke, or, something like that, and kaboom, and it blows up in your face. I don't know how realistic that would be.
Yeah.
One thing the game does kind of miss.
They just wanted to make it more like.
Go ahead.
They just wanted to make it more like real life. Like, mining is a dangerous activity.
Well, sure.
So space mining should also.
Well, yeah, the pirates aren't enough. Like, if you go to an extraction site and you start mining, I mean, the more mining you do remotely and leave to the robots, the less risky it is. That's true in the real world here as well as, as it likely is in space. Like I said, if you have to get out of your ship and you have to do something yourself, well, that's where the risk comes in, right? If you have to, like, go down the mining shaft. Or if you have to tunnel into the thing and then fly your little wee ship in there. Like, there's around, I can't remember which world it was that it was at. I discovered there was a civilian outpost, right? It's just labeled, the signal is just labeled as a civilian outpost. It's near an inhabited world. So I go, okay, I'll go see what the civilian outpost is about. And I, of course, come out of hyperspace. I see the civilian outpost. It looks and behaves in every respect like a starport, except there's nowhere to dock, right? It's like a military it's like a military port. So you can't dock anywhere. The contact menu doesn't let you communicate with it. So I decided, but I noticed there were some docking holes and places where you could have a ship. So I got out my fighter out of the Anaconda, and I'm flying this Condor class fighter through hallways and, like, corridors within this starport near where they're obviously ventilation shafts that are used to vent radioactive or toxins from the power plant out into space. And the result was sort of weird because I decided, okay, and at one point I let my trusty old NPC first officer have command of the fighter, and just waited aboard the mothership for him to figure out how to get out of the starport. except he couldn't. He got stuck, and then he just stops. Like he's just like completely baffled. He had to make one turn and then get like he's all confused, and he's stuck inside the starport, and so I had to like eventually switch back to the fighter and like guide it out myself. But
That would have been great, though. That would have been way better to just let him figure it out.
No, he was just stopped there. Like, you know, he's just like, oh, I can't figure it out. It's too complicated. Okay, you go around the corner. Like, if he couldn't see space, like, in front of him, he didn't know what to do, right? He's not very bright.
Right.
He's like 87% the way to expert grade. You know, after this, he'll be, like, working on his dangerous rating. But he can't figure out how to navigate around a corner in his starboard because it's too complicated. So, anyway, I just decided, okay, well, I'll just fly it out myself. I guess I could have left him there and just, like, jumped away. And then, but of course, he operates by telepresence, right? So, the smart thing to do might have been just to reach over and smack him upside the head. Okay, what the hell's the matter with you? You can't get the fighter out? If I'd really needed to, I could have left the fighter inside the starport and just jumped away, but...
See, I've never done cool shit like that. I've never been to fly around starboards.
Well,
I hear about all this cool stuff people are doing, and I've never done any of that.
Well, finding a civilian, these military and civilian outposts, they're like starports, right? But they don't serve any real function, right? They're just scenery for the game.
Yeah.
But you jump into them, and you know there's a planet behind them, and the civilian ones have advertising on the sides and neat visuals and stuff, and it looks like, you know, they might have a casino or something on board. And you could like dock, and somehow I guess you're supposed to be able to dock with it if you're a large cruise ship or maybe a capital ship. It looks like you have some of the larger ports. One question that's legitimate is like, well, how does the Farragut or the Majestic class battle cruisers, how do they dock with anything? Their class rating is well above large. I mean, the Farragut class battleship is 2 kilometers long, compared to like the Anaconda is only 139 meters like in length. It's quite large as far as a fighter. It has its own bridge and everything. I can take up to 3 crew on the bridge, 1 NPC, 1 human, or just 2 humans, and they can operate vehicles and things simultaneously. But as a rule, it's just you by yourself, and then, you know, but the Anaconda could accommodate easily 20 crew on board, you know, and the captain's quarters is located right at the front of it. You can even see it if you go outside with the camera view and you look at the ship up close. You see this like big pane glass window right at the front of the ship, sort of like the Galaxy class USS Enterprise where 10 forward would be, right at the very front of the ship. And you know, of course, that's where the captain's naturally going to have his office and his quarters and everything. But you never get to see inside of it because they don't have space legs. But when they do finally implement space legs in the year 2020 or 2021, God only knows when, you'll be able to walk around the ship and probably go in.
You know, I wonder... I can walk around my bridge. I'm in VR. I can...
Well, I'm in VR. I'm in VR as well, and the Anaconda, like I could, if I get the Anaconda and you're still logged in at some point, I'll invite you to join the crew, and then you can walk around like about a foot away from the chair, but then it resets after that. It won't let you move too far away from your main seat. But but you can still like navigate the position buttons on your controller should let you maneuver around and get views from different parts of the ship. And if you go free view or whatever in those modes, you can look around quite a few of the corners and see a lot of the ship around you. But but that's as far as it goes. You can't like climb in the elevator and go to deck 4 in the Anaconda, much as it would be fascinating to do so. The only time you get to see deck 4 is when you land this giant Anaconda on the planet's surface, which is no small feat, I might add. And then you pull out your Scarab and off you go, right? And then you get a sense for just, this thing is like 5 stories high. It's not a small ship at all. It's gigantic. It may only be 139 meters long, but it's 15,000 metric tons of business. Many of it has 8 weapons ports, 1 huge cannon, which is a class 4. It's one of only 3 ships in the game that has class 4 weaponry. It has 3 class 3 large gun ports, 4 class 2 and 2 class 1s. So it's pretty well armored. That's why it's favored by people, because its mass to armament ratio is so high that it's very attractive for the explorer trader type role in the game, and that's usually the role I like to play. It's also the traditional elite role since the dawn of Elite 1.0. It was we used to call these games Star Trader type games back in the day when they were operating on the old 8-bit machines, the Commodore 64, the Amigas, the Apple IIs, E's, and whatnot. And then the Elite 2 Frontier came out. It was more or less the same thing. You took cargo and you would run it from place to place, and you might get shot up by pirates or whatever. But basically, it's more of except for having better graphics, and now you could land on planets with and without atmospheres. For example, Merlin, which is in the Ross 154 system. Merlin is your start point in Elite 2 Frontier, and it's a domed city structure about a century before Elite Dangerous begins. Now, if you go to Ross 154, Merlin is completely human breathable. There's no more domes, right? It just says, I don't think anyway, if the domes are there, they're there only for, scenery. You don't need them anymore because it's now registered as a human breathable world. The terraforming technology is improved. So it's basically always been a Star Trader type of game, but now there's so much more you can do in the game. There's power play, there's you can do mining. None of the previous Elites have ever had anything to do with mining. You can go PvP now, of course, because it's multiplayer. You can smuggle, you can be a criminal, you can be a murderer, you can be a law enforcer, you can be all kinds of different roles. The only constant between all the...
Oh, I just realized how much time I just wasted.
What? Playing Elite? Doesn't
no, I came to this Thargoid structure to get some samples.
Yes.
For Palin. And I got here and I'm like, wait, I already know I need a probe to go in, I need a probe to go inside. Or a sensor to go inside, anyway.
Yeah, you need the what used to be called the unknown artifact is now called the Thargoid sensor. You go, and those are fairly.
Right. I need a Thargoid sensor to go inside.
Yeah, they're fairly easy to find. I mean, they're.
But yeah, so I went and found one. And then I came back here so I can go inside to get the technology sample.
Yeah.
It was laying on the ground outside.
Oh.
I didn't have to go inside this or nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, now you have 2 of them. You can sell those.
Yeah, I could have just...
You can sell those things, although I don't know if it's the sensor, if it's just the Thargoid samples, or do you have the corrosion-resistant cargo bays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one.
I bought 2 of them because they only carry 1 ton of, they're 2 metric tons of cargo apiece, which is a giant
Yeah,
waste.
that's dumb. I was going to buy a 6E and just have corrosion-resistant racks.
No, it doesn't work like that. And the other thing is, apparently there's some way to get up to now 4 tons or 8 tons? One of the other 2 classes. you can now upgrade those to be corrosion resistant as well, somehow, but I have no idea how. I've only heard that it's now possible. So I've been meaning to go figure that one out too, but I haven't been back to the Pleiades in quite a while. I'm still earning money. The Anaconda cost a fortune, and it needs to be upgraded or it's going to get shot all to hell. It already has been shot to hell a couple of times. It's only been destroyed once. One of my wingmen betrayed me. He actually waited to the end of battle, stabbed me in the back just by, like, knocking my ship off. So this guy was kind of being a jerk, so I just kind of went, you know what? Bye. I blocked his access. Now he can't see me in the same instance anymore unless there's a third party that joins the instance between the two of us. But I've never blocked anyone before, but that did it for me. I was like, well, I don't trust this individual anymore. He's gonna come up behind you once he realizes where you are. Because as soon as you're winged with someone, they know everything about you. They know where you are, how to find you. There's like a little marker and everything, right? And I don't know, I just can't have that. If someone's trying to like take all the credit for a kill. I don't know if he even got like a penalty. He may have had an in-game penalty, but I don't know if what the rules are now for PvP. If you kill someone, I know that you get notoriety. But if you're winged with them, I think the rules are slightly different, so...
Yeah, I don't think they're the same.
I don't think they're the same anymore. I think that they could call that an accidental kill, and then there wouldn't be any notoriety involved. But I think there should still be some notoriety involved. I mean, Christ. And the only thing I did wrong...
You ever done any of the,
Go ahead.
the Guardian stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been to the Guardian bases a couple times. But I just didn't want, and this is something else that they're talking about in the next version, is they're going to make the Guardian tech a lot more accessible. Because right now you have to go like and do like 50 bloody projects worth, or get 50 blueprints, you know, which is like an enormous undertaking to get like the shard cannon, which is of mediocre use to anyone. And then... You know, I just was sort of like not very impressed with how much work had to go involved. I was happy to do the exploration and get some of the credits for, you know, some Guardian knowledge, and I got that to Ramta. But the rest of it, when they introduced the Gauss cannons and the shard cannons, I was just like, oh, this is stupid. I'm not going to like go to that stupid base and like do it 50 times over and over again. Such a huge grind that, you know, no one in the right mind. So they apparently are going to reduce it, but I mean, come on. I don't know whose idea it was to call that playable, but that wasn't playable, in my opinion.
No, I got out there using, well, I wanted to do both missions, first and second. Well, I didn't do any research on it, you know. I just kind of got my stuff ready, the materials I needed, and I went out there, and then I picked up all of those stupid caskets and urns.
Yep.
Oh, don't just the shit. Oh, no. Oh. You ever tried to board your ship and just watch it fly away without you?
Holy shit. Okay, this moon is so... Sorry to interrupt, but this moon is so stupid. Like, I'm sitting here on this moon. I dismissed my mothership so I could use a scarab on the moon's surface, right? So I'm sitting here talking to you on the moon's surface, waiting for my ship to depart. It won't engage the hyperdrive because the second it does, it'll be outside the... outside the zone, right? It doesn't have to fly very far. So I guess they disabled the jump. So it's sitting here 453 kilometers above the surface. And this ship is like, and I can't like recall the ship to come pick me up now because it's still leaving.
Yeah, I can't recall mine now either. I've got to go 3,000 meters away from the structure.
Well, I think I have to drive to the other side of the moon or something, and like. Here, I'm just going to, if I drop you, I'll call you back. I don't think this will drop you, but I'm going to go to the main menu. So just hang on a second. Quitting to main menu. Now the game won't quit to the main menu. I can't do anything. I'm just stuck here now.
Yeah, Midland Hollow's pretty buggy. And you see, last week they managed to get a SRV up in space.
Well, I've done that before. I've flown, like, I've got a geyser. I flew my SRV over a geyser, and I got hurtled like 25 to 30 kilometers up into space. And I wasn't quite out of the planet's, like, gravitational pull, but it was a weak gravity planet. I mean, you get enough weak gravity, if you get a small enough moon or something with geysers on it, and yeah, you can, it wouldn't be hard to imagine. I did see a video of the two moons somewhere out there in the galaxy, way outside the bubble. There's two moons that are busily colliding with one another.
Oh, I've seen that. I seen it the other day.
And it's like so weird. Like you could theoretically drive from one moon to the other, but they're passing through each other. So what would that do? Like, did the guy who was using the SRV didn't really show the effect of what would happen? But
yeah, he started like just bumping into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needed to like try to jump from one to the other.
Yeah.
And then wait until they get close, they get far enough apart, and then try to recall his ship and see if his ship would go get him on the other rock.
Yeah, like what would that do? I don't even know. But they didn't even. I don't know that they fixed it. I think Frontier just sort of let it happen. But what they should do, obviously, if moons collide, they should both be destroyed, or they should, you know, something cataclysmic should happen. But the what is it called, Starforge or something? Their tool that they have internally to create the galaxy doesn't accommodate that. It's not even supposed to let that happen, so it's a bug in Starforge that allowed this to happen in the first place. But you know, it would be kind of neat if you could have, you know, occasionally in the galaxy some change. Like, for example, every year, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, I looked it up on Wikipedia, you have 70 new neutron stars appear in the galaxy every year.
Well, they just had a black hole. I think when I first talked to you, I talked to you about that. That we watched a black hole be born.
Really? I don't think we did talk about this. Okay. And so what happened? There was a star that just went kaboom, and
yeah, it was. I think it was a supernova that failed, and the Hubble got it. The Hubble was watching that area of space, and all of a sudden, appeared, and
yeah, this is in the real world, not inside the game. I get it now.
Oh yeah. No, but I was talking about that on Reddit, I believe. How they should do stuff like that, like every so often. That's something that they could add to exploring, is a scanner that would find upcoming celestial events.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the galaxy is alive, right? It does change. It doesn't change. I mean, most stars, especially Class M or red dwarfs, will be alive for a very, very long time. The average lifespan of an M dwarf star is something in the 20 billion year neighborhood, right? Our star is only going to be alive. It's a G yellow class star. It only has a life expectancy of about 5 billion years, through which it's gone about halfway. Or sorry, is it 10? No, it's 10 billion years, 9 to 10 billion years total, and it's about halfway through right now. So it's got another 4.5 billion years to go, between 4.5 and 5 billion years to go.
Right.
And then its fuel is exhausted, and one of two things will happen. Most likely, in fact, better than a 90% chance, it'll just contract and go into a white dwarf. After expanding outward for, becoming a red giant at one point for a short while, like a couple 100 million years, and then it'll contract after it's obliterated the inner solar system. It'll contract and turn into a white dwarf. And eventually it will become a brown dwarf, then it'll just be a neutron star husk. It won't actually, it'll become inert, and it will be made of solid neutronium, having exhausted all of its fuel. Until something else happens. Either it falls into the gravitational pull of another event, like a supernova, black hole, or something else happens to it. But that won't happen for a very, very long time in all likelihood. So some of this stuff should happen. With some of the statistics we now have on the galaxy, that we know that, there's 70 neutron stars that occur every year somewhere in the galaxy. New stars are born at a set rate as well out of stellar nebula. So there should be stellar nurseries where new star births are happening, and periodically you'll want to see some of this stuff happen, right? Where you get a debris field, and finally there's enough debris around a protoplanet that it's actually it either goes to gas giant, or it starts to form a gas giant, or where a gas giant just suddenly experiences enough shifting gravity that it's now able to fuse hydrogen, and it goes from being a brown dwarf to a fully lit star of some class. And I think they could probably integrate that type of stuff into Starforge, but they would take some upgrades. But I completely agree with you that this is, as I said, living galaxy. There is change that happens every so often on a galactic basis. As far as individual stars in the galaxy, the vast majority of them are not going to change very rapidly. For our purposes in game, it will likely, since the game takes place in real time, we won't notice most of these changes, but there will be occasion to see something like a new neutron star happen, or a new black hole happen periodically every few years. Someone will blunder into a system, and all the star maps have to be updated because they aren't correct anymore. But anyway,
That'd be cool if you could find some sort of celestial event, and it would be worth so much money you'd have to race back to the bubble to tell everybody, and then you can get out there on time and view it and live stream it or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that would be neat. Of course, nothing happens instantaneously. Like, when you talk about people, you tell people, oh my god, the Andromeda Galaxy, it's 2.5 million light years away from us, but it's on a collision course. People freak out. It's not even going to get here for, something like
400 billion?
No, it's supposed to arrive here in about 3.5 to 4 billion years, but it's quite a ways away, and it's moving quite fast towards us, because the two galaxies, Andromeda and Milky Way, are both the largest two galaxies in the local group. Ours is number 2. Andromeda is actually the larger of the two. When the two galaxies collide, they will rip each other apart, but the odds of Earth's sun, which will still be around when this happens, the odds of Earth's sun being, collided with directly from anything coming from Andromeda is so astronomically remote that, these are galaxies. The only impact they're going to have on each other is going to be ripping each other apart and repositioning stars. They're not really going to have, you're not going to see stellar collisions happening with a significant increased frequency. At least I'm not expecting that that'll happen very often. Space is really, really big. And then, several hundred billion years in the future, you'll have a new galaxy form, the Andromeda Way, or the the Mill Andromeda or some some merger of the two galaxies, which will become the new singular galaxy.
Right.
But you tell people, like, oh my god, it's on a collision course, they have this vision of, like, holy shit. Like everything's going to come crashing to a halt, that time itself will stop because galaxies explode. Well, they don't really explode.
Well, I think there's some stuff that happens instantly.
Some stuff does.
Like the development of a star or
a solar system doesn't happen instantaneously. Right.
But like the explosion of a supergiant.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely. That's pretty instant. Oh yeah.
It reaches a point of critical mass and it just gets there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You mean?
I think it'd be cool to like be able to detect that and take that back to the building. Oh, we've got a celestial event, and then people come in and they fly over there. That's a public interest. And you go out there and you get outside the safe zone and watch this star become a giant.
Yeah, like supernovas occur as well inside the Milky Way, and I think it was over 100 of those happen galaxy-wide every year. Supernovas are a necessary part of creating new elements, new life in the galaxy. If, other than here, we presume it exists elsewhere. So it's really important to have them. Without them, you wouldn't be alive, and neither would I. They are extremely dangerous, however, when they occur, right? So you don't want to be sitting next to one. And yeah, I mean, there should be some sort of game impact, because every once in a while one will go up. You'll have notice. You'll know that the star, okay, it looks like it's building towards, the critical mass it needs to go supernova. And if the computer could tell you that, I mean, you could almost imagine whole groups of commanders, appearing at this star that's about to die and go supernova, just to watch it happen. There wouldn't be, it wouldn't be something.
Yeah, I'd be there all the time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be something necessarily that you could pin down to the nearest second, with a countdown clock and everything, but you would have a very good idea as to like which year it was going to happen in. I think probably with a degree of percentage accuracy, of course. And when it goes, and then when people are monitoring it and visiting it frequently, eventually some number of them are going to be. Now, if you see this thing go nova while you're in the star system, well, it's time to start packing. You want to set your jump drive to get, okay, it's time to go. Not the time you want your FSD to fail. Of course, what's left behind after a supernova is generally a stellar remnant, most probably a white dwarf. But
I'm a fly right between this.
That would be a cool effect, I'm sure. The other thing that we don't have in this game in terms of large explosions, this isn't natural, but if you're going to have supernovas, why not nukes? We don't have nuclear weapons. You can't conduct from your starship. You can't conduct an orbital bombardment, but you have every other type of weapon that can unleash God knows horrible amounts of destruction on a stellar base, or like but you can't just nuke it from orbit. I mean, I guess there could be controls on nuclear weapons, but the Farragut and the Majestic class battle cruisers, even they don't use nukes on each other. And if this were again the real universe, at minimum there'd be plasma bombs or some form of hydrogen-based nuclear reactive explosion that would be involved. Plasma bombs, by the way, are a form of hydrogen bomb, but they are basically all you're doing in that type of a weapon is heating up the core to a supercritical standpoint where it basically you're fusing hydrogen together to create an explosion, an uncontrolled reaction. And the bonus is you don't get any radiation. But there are plenty of there are plenty of kinetic weapons in the arsenal of our ships that could do plenty of damage if they're hurtled at a base from orbit, and somehow the bases are impervious. The starports don't take damage if we attack them. So a lot of that stuff I think would be interesting to add to the game at some point. Especially
Oh, wow.
What?
You been out to Pleiades lately?
What's that?
Have you been out to Pleiades lately?
No,
That's
not
mine.
really. No. Why? What's going on there?
You know, well, first, like when I first started,
Yeah.
this whole area was under, I think Duval, Empire. It was part of the Empire's bubble anyway. And now it's the Anthill mob has control of it.
Who does?
The Anthill mob?
Oh yeah, they're a bunch of terrorists basically, but
Yeah,
Morocco.
The
Yeah.
only Empire influence is fucking zero out here.
Well, you
Like,
have
they really kicked them out.
HR 1185 is still there. Well, the Empire's commitment to the Pleiades has been kind of lukewarm too. You know where the Empire's done plenty of expansion is in the colonies on the exact opposite side of the bubble from where the Pleiades are. You can go into regions of stars out there now that are completely imperial. It's almost as if they're trying to encircle the Federation, because the Federation itself is not. The Federation is almost entirely encircled by imperial worlds now. Well, it's either encircled by a combination of imperial planets and alliance planets. In particular, President Edmund Mayans in the power play game, he's almost always finishing last because nobody likes him. He's an asshole, and he also well, he's militaristic and whatever. He's kind of warlike. He's been trying to get out of last place, but because he's been in last place, he's been ceding territory over to the Alliance to an increasing extent, and it's hurting the Federation. I suspect that when the next Federation election is held in the next couple of years, he might be ousted. And what'll happen then, I don't know. If he'll still be in the power play game, or if he'll be replaced, or maybe there'll be a new personality added. But there's no election in the Federation until 2020. The Empire itself doesn't really have elections. It does, but they're for individual senators, and they're different rules based on the Senate seat that is being contested. So it's very, very complicated. And the Alliance is kind of complicated too. I did a bit of an article on it, and I drew up if you can believe this, I drew up a Visio org chart to express the political systems that were used by the Federation. The Federation is actually a product of the United States of the Americas, which is began with the United States of America. And then it got expanded throughout North America when Earth got broken up into trade blocks. So the North American bloc was dominated by and eventually federated under the United States of the Americas, which included Mexico, Canada, the United States, and parts of Central America. And then eventually that spread all over the world, and every Earth country became a member of this this organization, which then had to be renamed because it's not just the Americas anymore. We've got Martian colonies, we've got all these other countries that aren't part of North America, so they called it the Federation. And its political structure is a presidency, like a republic. There's no electoral college, but there is a president, there is a senate, there's not a senate, there's a house of an assembly of representatives. It's unicameral except for the executive, so the shadow president is the leader of the house, basically, in American parlance. And that's it. basically everyone gets one person, one vote on all Federation worlds. If you're a Federation citizen, you can vote. So, kind of begs the question how they're going to hold an election in 2 years' time with respect to the commanders. Will commanders get to vote?
Yeah, they should.
But there's also you know the total what the total population, human population of the galaxy is right now? 6.6 trillion. Isn't that just nuts? Think about that number for a second.
Crazy.
That's there's 40 billion people living in the solar system itself, around Earth, between Earth and Mars. But listen, I gotta reboot this because my client has died, and I can't even disconnect with you in the ordinary fashion. I'm gonna have to like kill the process and restart it again. So I'll let you go on that note. Thank you for answering my questions, though, and
All right.
we'll chat again soon.
Okay.
Get back to making money after I restart. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Later.
Bye bye.